I just had this realization when Andrew was introducing me that I'm coming dangerously close to becoming a lifer, or as less affectionately known, a hut in the debate community, which is someone that for the majority of their career or life is involved in debate in some way. I've heard this as like reasonably described as turning 30, where you don't really believe it's going to happen. Like you're 29 and it's like, oh, I can still go out all night, it's going to be great. And then you're 30 and all of a sudden you have an interest in birding and you don't know where it came from. Being a lifer in the debate community can sometimes be a pejorative thing in the sense that you're choosing to forego some other options in order to be a high school debate coach. This can be seen as sort of pejorative because debaters go on to do pretty incredible things. I have friends who are involved in every industry or creative process who are leading the world and who are going to be able to be the next change agent for the community. But I don't think any debater would truly believe that being a debate coach is pointless or worthless, because I think no one can come out of debate without having been touched by its impact. I think that instead, there's a motivation to be a lifer, and my motivation is pretty personal. In my 8th grade year, on Valentine's Day, my mother passed away from a long struggle with cancer. This resulted in having to move and a lot of upheaval, and so it resulted in me going into a pretty severe depression. I pulled out for a long time. My best friend was my dad, which is great when you get older, but when you're 13, it doesn't have the same like, oh, that's so awesome, I wish I had that. And so I turned inward, and it was a hard experience. But then, on a whim, at the behest of my dad, I tried out for the debate team at the end of that year. So I walked into the room, had a pre-prepared speech that I was pretty sure was like the worst thing ever written about how awful the death penalty was and why we should abolish it, which I still do believe. And then they told me, to get up and to speak, and then all of a sudden, everyone went quiet. They were listening to me speak. They were waiting for me to speak. And then I realized that in this event and in debate, I would have the ability to have my voice be heard where others had to listen to me. And so I had a kind of advocacy and empowerment that I'd lost in this kind of depression. And that's all she wrote. Then I sort of transitioned into sort of doing debate obsessively. I was a debater before I was a school student. I had more 3-day weeks my senior year than 5-day weeks for debate tournaments. And so then I've sort of progressed to the point where I'm at now, working with these debate camps and institutes and coaching students. But I'm not the only one who agrees debate has had this transformational impact on them. There's so many stories that I could give you, but sometimes the numbers just sum it up more easily. Debate has been found by a 2003 study to it increases content mastery, argumentation, and communication skills. A 9-year study in the Chicago public schools found that African-American debaters were 25% more likely to graduate than their non-debater peers. If you look specifically at African-American male debaters, they're 70% more likely to graduate than their peers and 3 times less likely to drop out. Even the government recognizes this, and sometimes it takes them a while. Arnie Duncan, the Secretary of Education, has said that it increases the 4 C's: communication, collaboration, creativity, civic awareness, and critical thinking. Debate can impact you for any career in any way by giving you the skills to empower and advocate for yourself and advocate for others. It's not sufficient anymore to just be a biologist or to be a computer programmer or to be whatever degree you may be. You also need to be someone who can present your ideas to others and be able to make them work in this 21st century marketplace in the era of globalization and transformation where things can happen at the drop of a hat. But when we think about debate, it's a little bit different than we might think about when I say debate. It's not 2 people standing up on a microphone, grandstanding. Most people, when they think about debate, they think about the presidential debates like between Obama and McCain. It's slow, we sort of talk about our values, everyone knows we're lying, and then they sort of think, it's a rhetorical thing, there's not really a winner, and so it's the person who comes out on top is the person who just didn't make a mistake. But the problem is, I guess that's a disjunct from what debate actually is, and sort of does a disservice to the kind of activity and skills the debate can provide. So the kind of debate that I was steeped in, the kind of debate that I coach, is National Circuit Lincoln-Douglas debate. Funnily enough, Lincoln-Douglas debate was named after the presidential debates between Abraham Lincoln and Stephen Douglas, mainly dealing with moral issues, which is still the crux of the debate today. Our debates run the gamut. They talk about national security versus digital privacy, environmental protection versus resource extraction, whether or not we have an obligation to help others. The list goes on. And so debaters every year debate 4 different topics on these issues and have to debate both sides, meaning they're going to argue for either side of the position regardless of what they actually believe in, in order to develop the critical thinking skills to examine their own beliefs and the beliefs of others around them in an effort to fight back against dogmatism. This is not the most controversial aspect of debate. Debate now requires a huge number of skills as it has evolved over the years. Many teams resort to hiring graduate assistants or PhDs in order to help their students perform at the highest levels. Because in order to be a good debater nowadays, you need to know about law, politics, ethics, philosophy, public speaking, argumentation, research, political communication within the community, networking, and all that and more. So being a debater isn't just about reading an argument or showing up somewhere on Saturday morning. It's hours of endless preparation, work within a team in order to get yourself prepared to compete at the highest levels. One of the other interesting things about debate at this level is that it's on the national circuit. The national circuit is loosely defined as tournaments that have bids to the Tournament of Champions. The Tournament of Champions is like the March Madness Super Bowl of debate. It's sort of like, unless Tom Brady and more just high schoolers speaking really quickly in suits, so it has a smaller audience. But some debaters will spend 4 years trying to qualify to this Tournament of Champions, with about 100 making it, with over thousands trying to get there. So it's really the culmination of a debater's career and a significant indicator of the work and talent that they've put in order to make it there. Because no one makes it there without trying. No one is just good at debate. It requires work and preparation because everyone is working and everyone is preparing. And it comes out at a clash at the highest level. One of the most interesting things about debate that I don't think many people know about is the speed it occurs at. I'm about to play a video between Walt Whitman's Jessica Levy and Harrison's Danny Dubois from last year's Tournament of Champions in the semifinal round. Danny went on to win the tournament, and Jessica ended up placing third. They're both now undergraduates at Harvard. Debate, it works.
I think I think people one way the resolution is willing to concentrate more first and sufficient pursuit the only one that needs to happen in days was just like a frame to be I do not have the now furthermore it's going to engage very the overall material basis for the economy diligent good resource extraction improvement steadily over the past 2 decades growth fees over 36% for the extraction metals increase disproportionately indicating continued importance to resource category industrial development framework only constituent standards matters as well.
So as you can see, it's not your dinner time discussion. It's not your kid arguing about if they need more money for school or for whatever they want to spend it on. Debate now is really fast. All right, that is immediately antagonizing or really cool to people. On the one hand, I get it. No one could come up here and do that and expect you all to understand it. You probably think they belong in a mental institution, but I promise they're really good people. And so debate at that level and debate at that speed fosters critical thinking at really fast levels. Imagine if you heard a high-level debate between two people, between two seasoned policy experts in a field, and then they were forced to do that debate and read the same arguments at that speed. Imagine how much, in the same period of time, imagine how much further developed they could make their argument and how much faster they have to react to their opponents. And so it provides a unique environment where you're able to synthesize strategy, competition, excitement, in a way that you don't really get access to in any other way, and I've never found anything that feels like it. As much as it may not appeal to the community, I've never felt the most exciting rounds, the best rounds I've judged, have generally occurred at speeds like this, just because you're able to do the most with the amount of time that you're given, because the only set rules in debate are really the speech times. But as much as transformational as this debate has been for me and for others in the community, as the studies have shown, debate is expensive, and debate has problems that are associated with it. Up on the screen now, this is my average cost of debate, which is, I would say, ballpark for debaters who are competing at the highest level. To travel to tournaments, feed myself, get a hotel, my school expected me to pay about $400 on average per tournament. And so going to about 5 tournaments each my freshman and sophomore years and about 10 each my junior and senior years, it accumulated to around $14,000. One of the most important things about debate at the highest levels is summer debate camps. Summer debate camps provide students with an unparalleled opportunity to work with the best coaches in the country, compete against the highest levels, and gain about a semester to a year's worth of experience in about 2 weeks. So they're pretty critical because everyone goes to them, and so in order to be competitive, you have to go to debate camp, is more or less the thought. And so if every student goes to at least one camp between each year, it's going to come out to about $7,500. Food and coaching and other paid debate resources bring it up to about $30,000. And I'd say this is typical. That's about a year of college. That's insane, actually. That is a huge barrier for people to be able to enter into debate and access its transformational capacity. If students have to be able to shell out, I could go to a really elite university or I could do debate, no one is ever going to choose debate because it's too expensive to participate in. And as a result of this and other factors, debate has problems that have occurred with underrepresentation. Looking at the top 16 debaters from the Tournament of Champions over the last 5 years, only 15% of those debaters have been women, and those numbers are even more startling if we look at race. Only 3.75% of the top 16 over the last 5 years have been Black or Hispanic debaters. There are a lot of reasons for this. One is definitely the cost. In communities that have experienced redlining and white flight, where there's lower quality schools, or schools with fewer resources, it's impossible to fund a debate team that can send kids around the country and compete at this level. Students who have the access to debate are blessed beyond belief because they either have schools or family or community or all three who are willing to support them in this venture. But students who don't have those resources find it much more difficult to compete and find it a lot harder to compete at the highest levels of debate. Debate also has problems with norms. As with many activities, it's coming from a position where it's been largely dominated by white men. And what that means is that there are norms that have been instilled that we're in the process of correcting that make debate more accessible to people, to not men, and to other races and genders and cultures that has occurred through a process of constant change and self-reflection. Debate isn't perfect, but all hope is not lost. There are a ton of efforts that are going on in the debate community today to reform the process and make it more equitable for all. These are a list of great organizations that sort of govern the debate community or help rather increase access. The one that I'm most familiar with is the Texas Debate Collective. The Texas Debate Collective is a 2-week camp in Austin, Texas that provides most students the ability to attend camp, which might cost anywhere between $2,500 to $3,000 a summer, free of cost. It largely serves local debaters who aspire to be on the national circuit, and so we prioritize debaters who suffer from socioeconomic inequalities that would prevent them from attending camp in any other way. This is just one of many efforts that are going on by people in the debate community to reclaim the activity and make it more equitable for all. The reason we care so much is because debate has given us so much. It gave me my life back. I can say without a doubt that debate has saved my life. And so I think that it is the greatest injustice that I have to deal with, that I have an obligation to deal with, is to make that activity that changed my life more equitable and more easily accessible for those who don't have the same opportunities now. And I think that's an idea we're sharing.